Hey you guys, welcome to this video in the sun, finally after days and days of rain here. My name is Kristin. I am a channeler and intuitive guide, and I share messages that I channel and teachings I receive in my videos. Today we will be talking about purpose, because this is a huge topic. It's something that I get asked about quite frequently. It's something that I've been asking myself about many times. And it's something that I have received more questions of than usual the last months, which has to do with the whole shift in consciousness that we're going through. More and more people are waking up to deeper truths, going more deeply within themselves, asking the big questions about the purpose of this life. Why am I here? And when that ball starts rolling, we very easily start asking these questions, and we want deeper answers. And very often from the human mind we want to find the one and only answer, that we can just underline and know that is the one and only truth. And we have incarnated into a reality of polarity. We are experiencing contrasts, and we are experiencing a lot on this human journey, which is big part of why we are here. And so I will go a bit more into these topics in this video, from what I have shared in the channelings. I would love to hear in the comments as well how you are going about your journey, if you feel a sense of purpose in your life, how have you come into that, because this can be really helpful for others also that are watching the videos and reading the comments. Now, if you want to reach out to me in any way, in the description box as always you will find my information, my website, how to book a personal session with me, my social media, and all of that for your convenience in the description box. Now, first, what I said is that we very often have, we are conditioned to have an attachment to an idea of one purpose. And this is maybe what is standing in between us and the feeling of more of a purpose, because we think there is this thing outside of ourselves almost, and there's this one big thing, and if I haven't done this thing or found that and know that very clearly, then I am probably, just making a huge mistake, because we have incarnated into this polarity, or this world of polarity, into this dimensional field, and we very often tend to think that something has to be one way or the other, and there is a right or a wrong, and this is really standing in our way to experience a more purposeful life. So what I said is that it's sort of threefold. What a purpose is from their perspective. They said it's really like the one overarching thing is that it's adding value to others in a way that you enjoy. And I think that's a really beautiful way to think of it, because it says something about that it's adding to the whole, to everything, because we are interconnected. But it's in a way that you enjoy. It is coming from within you. So they divided it into three. They made 3 points. They said it's what's give you joy. And we are so conditioned to, many of us, to judge what is joy. We have to work hard. There's no pain, no gain. They mentioned these kind of expressions also in the channeling, actually. And they said, you guys are so conditioned to think that things have, if it's the right thing, it has to be hard. It has to be something you have to it contains suffering, because we're very conditioned to suffering. And it's not that we're not going to put a lot of work in it, put a lot of energy in it, but it's not in through the lens of suffering. It's through the lens of joy. I want to give this. I want to contribute with this thing. So what gives you joy? Then what inspires others? So when you find yourself with other people, or you're doing something and you're sharing it in whatever way, and when I'm saying sharing, I don't mean necessarily social media. We will talk more about social media as well in this video. But what I'm thinking of, or what I said, is what in you is inspiring others? When do you notice that people around you get inspired? Because when you are in your passion, or when you are in what is your alignment, what is your truth, that is a frequency. It doesn't matter whether that thing is, being a bus driver, whether it is, being a tour guide, whether it is having a podcast, whether it is being a chef, whether it is, hosting big events. Like, no matter what kind of thing that is, doesn't matter. The thing is that it is you. It is what is your. It comes natural to you, okay? And when you are in that frequency in and of itself is inspiring to others. So see as well when are you inspired by others? Because that's most probably when they are just in the thing that is natural to them. Because that is a frequency that we are drawn to, because that is a frequency we want to be in. So ask yourself and ask the people around you, when do they get inspired by you? What kind of situations? What are you doing? Is it when they are watching your art? Is it when they are listening to you? Is it when you are just like drawn into accounting, when you're sitting doing, like, what is it? Really dive into that. Then the third point is that the alignment with who you chose to be in this life. And that is something I kind of went into in the second point now, because it's all like, this is obviously different parts of the same thing. But ask yourself about this, because we have, of course, before we come in here, and this is where we very often make it more challenging for ourselves. We make it into this big right or wrong thing, because it's like, okay, if I know that I have these contracts and I know that I'm coming into this life with a purpose, I know that I am here to do something and I'm not really sure what that is, and then if you don't have this like written thing in front of you and you know that, okay, this is the one thing, which most of us really don't have, like not really anyone. We are figuring things out as we are walking this path of this life. But when we don't have that, we tend to question, and we tend to be insecure, and we tend to be afraid. So rather than actually coming back into our joy, we are asking these questions out of a frequency of fear of making a mistake. So shift this one, and this is huge. Even though it sounds really simple, because it's simple, but frequency-wise, it's a big shift. When you're asking yourself about your purpose, or when you're feeling that you are off purpose, or you're feeling like, I'm really not doing the thing I'm enjoying and here to do, and all of that, allow yourself to have more and more space in your days that bring you joy. See what you want to contribute with to this world. What gives you joy? What are others inspired by you? Because these are the things that are connecting you to your purpose, to what you chose before you came in here, and that might shift also during your life. There's not, very rarely is it is one thing. It can be an area of something maybe, and then it develops. It can be, being a parent. It can be meetings with certain individuals throughout. Like there's huge variations, but remember when you're questioning these things, not to go into fear, not asking from a place of fear. Shift that frequency first, because otherwise you will see everything through the lens of fear and through the lens of, I'm probably making a mistake, or I don't want to make a mistake. And that is holding you back from connecting with the frequency that you actually are. They also said that when it comes to, that they say that purpose has to be found within oneself, not in search for validation, which connects back to the social media. Because they said that social media can hijack our hormones. So this is a very biological thing, right? We have posted something and we are so focused on the followers, on the likes, on all of this really rapid feedback, which gives hormones. It spews out hormones in our brain, which affects the whole body, and then we get addicted to it. So this is an actual addiction for most people, actually, to some degree. And if we can just become more aware of that, we actually have a choice. Because how easy isn't it to just sit and just keep scrolling, really without any specific thing we're going to look at, and how long can we be sitting there sometimes? So they said, remember in those cases that you have a choice, and your purpose is not connected to how many likes or reactions or followers or whatever you're getting, because there are so many purposes that are not at all connected to social media. And social media can be a good way for many to get, their messages or their art or whatever the thing is that they want to get out, to get that out. But still, then remember that it can also very easily distract you from connecting with your joy, because you get into this hijacking, really, that it does with your hormonal system. It can very easily keep you small, keep you in fear. If you start comparing yourself with everyone you can see on social media, you start thinking that, oh, I am as good as the number of whatever feedback I get. All of these things, all of that. I don't need to go more into that, I think. But remember that very often we have this feeling that the known is safe. No matter whether or not what we know is actually safe, we will very often go into the known and stay in the known and keep ourselves small and keep ourselves in that fear, because that gives the emotional reaction, that gives those hormones that we are used to. And when our body is in a situation it's used to, it thinks it is safe, only because it's known. And so be really aware of the choices you make when you engage with social media. Then one big thing that I talked about, and this is, I feel I'm talking a lot right now. Sorry, this is getting a bit longer than I thought. They said, are you living the exam or the experience of life? And this is huge, because we are very conditioned to think of life as an exam. We have to do right, or we will make a mistake, we will make something wrong. We try to do things today to avoid something tomorrow or next week or next month, rather than being in what we want today, and then we will keep creating what we want, right? And they said that there are no wrong choices. And I am, just in my own experience, this is a challenge for me, because my mind is very much, when it comes to myself, like, okay, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing, probably should be like this, or it should not be like that. So this is like a constant reminder that I'm working on myself. But they really, really highlighted that the human is conditioned to think that life is an exam. The stream of consciousness that you are has an agenda. It's something they want. There's something that the soul, that you are, the stream of consciousness that you are, want to learn, want to experience, want to live in this life. And if we can think of that more than focusing on a purpose that can possibly, in our mind, be right or wrong, it would help us aligning with our purpose. Because of this attachment that we have in our mental field at the moment. This goes with the self-judgment, as I mentioned. I'm just looking through my notes now, that we're conditioned to suffering, and that we very easily judge and criticize what is connected to joy and an alignment. And they said that, okay, they usually, oh, here's my book. They usually don't say things with those words. They're normally a bit more neutral with their choice of words when I'm channeling, but I said, and I'm quoting, "You cannot fuck up this life, you can only live it." I really wanted to take that in. So if you have heard stories, for example, of people on their deathbed, and you ask them how their life was, if they are regretting something, if they would do something differently, they're very often saying that if there's anything they're regretting, it's the things they didn't do, the things they didn't have the courage to actually do, to be more of themselves, to not hold themselves back, to not make themselves small, but to actually be in that joy. Because that is why we are here. We are here to experience life, not to be in the axis of life. And so what they said, the last part of this channel, the very last sentence they said, is they were too caught up in the axis of life, not living the experience of life. And if we allow our questions of what our purpose in life is to stand in the way of actually experiencing this life, then our mind is stopping us. So get back to the focus of experiencing your life. You are here to experience everything. You're here to experience the polarity. You're here to experience the contrast. And it can be so amazing, and it can be really, really, really challenging and painful. But every time we get caught up in the mind, trying to figure out, trying to analyze, trying to find the one answer that we can just underline, we are just throwing ourselves into a loop which is not leading at all into our alignment and into our truth. So if you take something with you from this video, let it be that. You cannot fuck up this life, you can only live it. And the people that are regretting the things they did not dare to do in this life, let that be an inspiration for you to not get too caught up in the exam of life, but actually living the experience of this life. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your journey in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.